Hello viewers and welcome to yet another commentated match of Warhammer 40,000 Conquest played out over Octagon. My name is Mitch and I am the Hive Tyrant. Today I'm pleased to present you another bit of a preview match of some of our upcoming Planetfall cycle warlords. In this video we're going to be seeing the Tau Warlord Commander Starblaze, played by I Fight Dragons or Travis McDaniel, and he's going to be up against the likes of Chaplain Mavros, who's piloted by Jiggy81 or John Wesley. Both of our players are currently deciding whether or not they want to keep their opening hands, and in just doing a little bit of a refresher about our upcoming warlords here, Commander Starblaze has the gimmick of being able to include common Astra Militarum cards in his deck, but no cards from a non-Tau faction apart from those. And once Commander Starblaze commits to a planet, you can move an AM unit from an adjacent planet to that planet. Looks like Travis is going to keep, and John, dissimilarly, is going to mulligan. So as our players determine what their first few deploy actions are going to be, Chaplain Mavros functions best in regard to blue technology planets. He's got the action of dealing 1 point of damage to a Space Marines unit at a blue planet, and that targeted unit gets +1 attack until the end of the phase. Not the end of the round or the combat round, but the phase, and you can do that twice during any phase, so deploy, command, or combat, or HQ. Looks as though our first action is indeed from Commander Starblaze, who's possessing our initiative token, and that's going to be a Borcon Recruits put out at planet number 1, so that's going to be a 4 attack value unit. As soon as that happens to be at the same location as a Warlord, we end up seeing an Earthcast Technician put out to planet number 5 by John, and unfortunately for him, that card whiffed. It's pretty fantastic in a Chaplain Mavros deck because it's not just the signature Ancient Crozius Arcanum that you're digging for, but also quite likely to be Iron Halo and potentially myriad other just Space Marine faction attachments. We see a copy of the signature army unit, the Ardent Auxiliaries, put out to planet number 3 by Commander Starblaze. They're pretty simple. They're a 2/2 unit with 1 command icon for 2 resources. Basically, once they're commit to a planet alongside a warlord, they're just readied. We also see a Sanctioned Psyker to planet number 5, a 10th Company Scout opposite the Ardent Auxiliaries to planet number 3, and a Void Pirate sitting alone at planet number 4. We see an Ion Rifle affixed to the Borcon Recruits at planet number 1, so the initiative token happens to be in Commander Starblaze's possession, and what's absolutely fantastic is that the Borcon Recruits can either attack first for 7 if they're not outright killed by perhaps Chaplain Mavros showing up at that planet, having the opportunity to swing first, potentially, well, just for 2, since that planet is not a blue planet. Had planet number 1 been blue, Mavros could have potentially augmented himself up to 4 to almost guarantee he'd be able to kill that Borcon Recruits there. And considering that planet number 1 is Farron, that's going to be an incredible opportunity for Travis to basically pick and choose which of these units he'd likely want to route, and it seems as though one of his prime contenders is going to be the Reclusium Templars, the signature army unit for Chaplain Mavros we see deployed alone to planet number 2. They're for 3 resources, so pretty steep investment there, but they're 1 command, 2 attack, 3 hit points. They're the first instance of the Unstoppable specialization we've seen this game, and the first time they're assigned damage, you prevent 1 of that damage, and you ready that unit, so it's definitely a wise idea to attack with that first. Both of our players are currently deciding where exactly they'd like to send their warlords in regard to just assessing their hands and resources. Travis has 0 resources, 3 cards. John dissimilarly has, well, rather similarly, has 1 resource and 3 cards. Looks as though going into combat, Travis has a 2 shield icon card in this Deception, and we see the signature event Vow of Honor for Chaplain Mavros. So the way that works is after an SM unit you control takes damage as a reaction for 1 resource, that unit gets +3 attack for its next attack this phase. But that does allow an action window for something along the lines of an Archon's Terror or Clavex Warleader to destroy that unit or banish it from that planet, and it looks as though we're going to see a pretty interesting fair few effects here. Planet number 4 is going to be Commander Starblaze's destination, and instead of having letting this Sanctioned Psyker sit at planet number 5 to take damage. Starblaze ends up pulling it from that planet so it does not enter his HQ exhausted, and it sets him up nicely the following round to trump this Void Pirate currently sitting at planet number 4. We see Chaplain Mavros opted to go to planet number 5, which is a blue planet, and we actually see blue planets at 2, 3, 4, and 5. Interestingly, we see John has gotten one card, 2 resources, and it looks as though we see a total of 1 card and 2 resources for Travis as well. So another copy of Deception for Travis, a copy of Iron Halo for John. Looks as though the first planet was basically 1 uncontested. That's going to be 1 red material icon for Travis. The Borkon recruits and their associated ion rifle are going to be bouncing into Travis's HQ. The Reclusium Templars are the target of Farron, and it seems as though Commander Starblaze took a swing at the Void Pirate at planet number 4. We saw an Iron Halo discarded as shields. Very interesting choice there, but the Void Pirate is therefore going to live until the end of the first combat round, and it is able to retreat. Due to Farron being won by Travis, we could see a victory condition as early as planet number 3 through red material icons, and planet number 4 is going to be a battle won entirely uncontested by the likes of Chaplain Mavros here, so pretty interesting. He's able to trigger Planum to move his Reclusium Templars to our soon-to-be planet number 1, and as soon as the HQ phase comes and goes, that Reclusium Templar is going to ready, and then it's basically going to be ready for the following combat round in order to contest Commander Starblaze, just sweeping the game here. But we do have these 2 copies of Deception, so I'll be curious to see whether or not those come into play perhaps late during the round here. Travis has 6 resources, 6 cards after the HQ phase. John has 7 resources and 5 cards. I've yet to do a rundown of our planet, so our current planet number 1 is going to be Yvarn, which affords players the opportunity to put any unit into play from their hand to their HQ. Aatrox Prime is going to be planet number 2, which bombards an adjacent planet or target player's HQ for 1 point of damage. We see a second copy of the Reclusium Templar signature army unit put out to Aatrox Prime by John. Planet number 3 is going to be Iridial, the healing planet. Planet number 4 is going to be Planum, which, like we saw last term, moves non-warlord units, and our new 5th planet is going to be Taurus, which rewards players for keeping their unit count lower than that of their opponent by affording them the opportunity to pick and choose between generating 3 additional resources or drawing 3 cards. Looks as though we see a copy of Earthcast Technician touch down on planet number 5, and it ends up pulling a copy of Heavy Marker Drone out of Commander Starblaze's deck. So we've still got those 2 Deceptions. We've got an Elysian Assault team that could definitely play an important role during combat. We've also got a big, beefy Assault Valkyrie here. Definitely something you don't see in every Tau deck. And then for the Space Marines player, we've just got a slew of combat-relevant events. We see an Honored Librarian touchdown to Yvarn, which is going to be very important in potentially shoring up that planet. But if we do see a copy of Deception bounce either one of those units back to hand, then things are going to look quite a bit more difficult for our Space Marine player to win at this planet. So let's see here. John in hand still has a Primal Howl, which could afford him the chance of drawing a few additional cards. We could also see a copy of Crushing Blow, just augment some of the damage that he's taking. The initiative token is going to be in John's hand, and just keep in mind that at any point during combat, he can use Chaplain Mavros' ability to deal 1 point of damage to any of these units at blue planets in order to give them +1 attack until the end of the phase. So the more rounds of combat that go on, the more you're going to get out of that attack bonus. If Mavros deals 1 point of damage to the Reclusium Templars, that can serve to ready them, so that would be just fantastic, and having them attack first for 2, and then they attack again for 3, and they're readied, and they don't technically take a point of damage. We see a Viewer Law Marksman touch down on planet number 2, and I'll be very curious as to see, I think, because of this Marksman showing up, I can only imagine that this means Commander Starblaze is going to skip Yvarn. It's not a very important planet in regard to its battle ability. It's typically something that we don't actually see activated. Note that our Space Marine player doesn't actually have any army units in hand, hand, so I doubt he would be activating it. We've already seen a significant presence by both players at planet number 2, and if Travis chooses to just go with planet number 2 and planet number 3, he can just as easily end up winning the game. So perhaps he'll try to punish his opponent John here for spending 6 resources on the same planet. But let's see where exactly our players are wanting to go. I'm not sure whether or not they've both passed at this point. Travis has still got 4 resources, 5 cards. John has 1 resource and 3 cards. We could definitely see Commander Starblaze. I suppose he's got to drop off this copy of Borkon Recruits wherever he goes, so I could definitely therefore see the Borkon Recruits being brought to Iridial. And then in regard to Chaplain Mavros, I could also see him going to Taurus. In regard to unit count, let's see here. There's a total of 7 units for our Space Marine, and there are 6 units for our Tau players. So I think Mavros would likely be unable to trigger the battle ability if he shows up to Taurus. Interestingly, it looks as though Travis might be trying to contest our first planet here. So he spends all 4 of his resources to put out a copy of Assault Valkyrie, and now I'm wondering whether or not Starblaze might just end up going to the first planet, or whether he's simply wanting to just inspire our Space Marine player to potentially waste a few resources. So I'll be very curious to see where exactly they both go. They've both got a unit in tow, whether it's the Borkon Recruits, which is going to be incredibly vulnerable showing up exhausted, and then that Void Pirate isn't really going to do anything in regard to combat, but it could generate an additional card. Oh, okay. Well, I forgot about Commander Starblaze's ability. You can basically just reel the Assault Valkyrie back over to Planet 2, should you choose to do so. So that could have been potentially very handy in, like, tying command. And it looks as though Mavros did opt to go to planet number 5, and Starblaze, like I indicated, went to planet number 2. So that's going to be 3 cards and 3 resources for John, and it's going to be 2 cards, 1 resource for Travis. So John got a copy of his signature support, which is Faith and Hatred. It's pretty simple. It doesn't cost anything. You put it into play. Reaction is after a unit you control is assigned damage through an attack. You just exhaust that support, and you don't deal it any damage. I guess, interestingly, the Assault Valkyrie was not moved. The Honored Librarian takes a swing. That swing of 2 is, well, that swing of 4 is dropped down to 2, and then the Assault Valkyrie just takes no damage at all, thanks to the heavy marker drones being expent as shields. We see a Primal Howl used to block the Reclusium Templars' damage, so they're only going to take a single point of damage, and I feel as though it was maybe a little bit of a mistake in not attacking first with those Templars, just because now they're not going to have any opportunity to swing with their unstoppable keyword there. So that is going to bring us to the end of the combat round. Very interesting how things ended up going there. I suppose Travis is just going to really rely on the plethora of 2 shield icon cards he has in hand. John also drew an ion rifle. He also drew a promotion. We see that Honored Librarian exhaust to attack again, and there's yet another 2 shield icon card negating that damage entirely. Note that the Assault Valkyrie is not a soldier, so we can't see the ridiculous play of an Elysian Assault team drop in at the very last minute. But we see the Assault team take another swing of 4. At the Reclusium Templars, there is absolutely nothing that our Space Marine player can do to keep that unit in play, and that means the Reclusium Templars are going to be destroyed, so this game might end up a hell of a lot faster than I was expecting it would. We see another combat round come to an end. The Honored Librarian is going to be potentially staying at that planet a little bit prematurely. Travis indicates he's going to stay. Our Space Marine player indicates that he too is going to stay. The Honored Librarian exhausts, and once again, are we going to see that copy of Deception? Let's see it. We've got that Crushing Blow in hand, and I'm wondering if a Vow of Honor would have been very well spent at some point during this combat, just because that would have augmented one of these units up by, well, basically 3 points of attack, which would have made a big bit of a difference, considering you always round up in trying to kill off that Assault Valkyrie, but we've seen a third 2-shield card. It's now our Assault Valkyrie's opportunity to take a swing. This is going to be the moment of truth for Commander Starblaze. Of course, there's no Indomitable to be had, so that is incredible to see. This Assault Valkyrie just did work. So the Honored Librarian is destroyed. Travis indicates he is not going to trigger that unit. And that was just absolutely fantastic. So whether or not we should have seen that Vow of Honor, whether or not we should have seen Chaplain Mavros augmenting some of those units just to make sure that that damage stacked up against the Assault Valkyrie, especially considering that any single point of damage successfully dealt would have resulted in the opportunity to use a Crushing Blow. Things definitely could have panned out differently at that planet, but looks as though combat is going to erupt at planet number 2. We see the Warlord Marksman take a shot at the 10th Company Scout. We see a copy of Promotion discarded as shields. The Ardent Auxiliaries ends up being declared as an attacker at the 10th Company Scout, so they are outright destroyed. And what's a little bit of a bummer here is now the Reclusium Templars are going to have the opportunity to swing, and of course, as soon as they do end up taking an attack in return, that unstoppable keyword is going to trigger. They'll prevent one of those points of damage, and then they'll basically just ready. So this is going to be an opportunity for John to potentially attack twice, but I suppose either way it didn't really matter much. Like unless you'd have been able to outright kill the Templars, which was not possible, you'd have still had to deal with an attack from the 10th Company Scout. So there we go. We see John taking advantage of that just tremendous number of shield cards discarded by his opponent. The Borcon recruits and their associated ion rifle are outright destroyed, and this is going to be Commander Starblaze having no option but to take a swing at the Reclusium Templars. They're only going to take 1 point of damage, and they're going to ready, and that's going to afford the Templars the opportunity to attack in return. But let's see if our Space Marine player ends up shielding. No, he does not. So the Templars are readied. We see Vow of Honor used, and that's going to bring it up to an attack value of 5. If we wanted, we could see Chaplain Mavros bringing it up to an attack value of 6, which would be enough to bloody the Warlord. And of course, Commander Starblaze does not happen to possess any shields remaining in hand. So let's see if John remembers to buff this unit. That could make all the difference in the world, and all of us players have basically agreed beforehand that all of these warlords, Chaplain Mavros, Commander Starblaze, they're going to be basically 2-5 units when bloodied. So all right, we do see that Crushing Blow come down, but in my opinion, I think I'd have much rather dealt a point of damage to those Templars, potentially dealt a damage to those Templars, than used a Crushing Blow, although notably, we do still have this copy of Ion Rifle in hand. If he were to take an attack of 2, he could run away. So the Crushing Blow does mean that Commander Starblaze is bloodied. Note that Starblaze is going to be a 2-5 unit, and if Mavros ends up bloodied, he'll be the exact same. Looks as though Travis and John have both indicated their desire to stay at that planet. We no longer are going to be seeing any unstoppable specialization take place, and that's going to be an Ion Rifle discarded as shields, and the Reclusium Templars there are going to have 1 hit point remaining, but they're likely going to be able to kill off the Ardent Auxiliaries prior to the Warlord Marksman finishing the job there. So even though wow, I suppose in my mind, I was playing suboptimally, so that is absolutely fantastic to see and well played by John. I hadn't been thinking that John, well, actually, I'm sorry, John does not have the initiative token, so I was mistaken. Initiative was stolen due to Commander Starblaze showing up at that planet, so I'm frankly slightly surprised to have seen the Warlord Marksman destroyed. Notably, this gun drone drones could have been fixed to it, so it could have attacked during the ranged skirmish round. So I believe that John must have been going off of just the fear of a ranged keyword unit, as opposed to being terribly concerned about, say, killing a 2/2 instead of a 1/2. So very well played by John. We end up seeing that Reclusium Templar destroyed, it would seem, and now there's going to be Chaplain Mavros sitting at Taurus. He kills the opposing Earthcast Technician, and there's only going to be 3 units controlled in total by our Space Marine player compared to the 4 units by Commander Starblaze. So John is going to choose to draw 3 cards. That's the Ancient Crozius Arcanum, which could be absolutely incredible on Chaplain Mavros, and then 2 Vashia Trailblazers. So this is going to be a complete nightmare for Commander Starblaze to try to chew through Chaplain Mavros if he goes to our first planet, because with the Ancient Crozius Arcanum, the first time he's dealt damage this round, you prevent 1 damage, you remove that damage, and then with Faith and Hatred, you pull away another point of damage from an attack. Mavros could sit at this planet, he could deal himself 2 instances of damage to augment his attack capability to 4, so he's just going to be an absolute monster sitting there at that planet. And now I think it's all going to come down to what, if anything, can Travis do to try to win the battle at Aatrox Prime. Thankfully for Travis's sake, there don't seem to be a tremendous number of powerful units that our opponent has, but Mavros himself could definitely, make all the difference here. We see a copy of Vashia Trailblazer touch down on our new planet number 5, which is Karnath, the trigger a battle ability of any other planet in play planet. We see a second Ardent Auxiliaries commit, deployed at planet number 1, and we also see a copy of Gun Drones affixed to that unit, which could be just absolutely integral in trying to kill Chaplain Mavros and whatever else ends up deployed at that planet. We do have a copy of the signature army unit, the Reclusium Templars. I believe it's the 3rd copy of those Templars that will likely be played at the first planet, and we see Faith and Hatred, that signature support, put into play for free, and that's just going to be 1 additional little effect, preventing the Space Marine player from just being outright wrecked. Note that only triggers off of attacks, though, and not any other effect. So the recon drones end up being put out to planet number 3, conveniently trumping the Earthcast Technician in regard to command. The Reclusium Templars do end up deployed to planet number 1. And now Travis is going to be able to put a copy of the Elysian Assault Team into play as soon as, say, this Ardent Auxiliaries with an affixed gun drones ends up being destroyed. We see another Vashia Trailblazer put into play, and this is going to be interesting. I don't think this is going to influence our combat at all, but we do have a copy of Tense Negotiations in Chaplain Mavros' hand, but frankly, I'm a little bit surprised. Well, honestly, I'm not surprised we didn't see the Ancient Crozius Arcanum used, just because the initiative is going to be in Commander Starblaze's hand, and if Mavros takes a hit right away, that Unstoppable isn't really going to do him any good. So, to no one's surprise, both Warlords commit to planet number 1, and it's all going to come down to Mavros needing to win at this planet. Interestingly, we see a couple different things. Vow of Honor is going to allow... after a Space Marine unit takes damage, like Chaplain Mavros, it gets +3 attack, which would be a grand total of 5, plus whatever Mavros does to buff himself until, for the next attack. In regard to command income, it's 3 cards, 2 resources for John, 2 cards, 2 resources for Travis. But the Vow of Honor is really the only new combat-relevant thing. We see 2 1-shield icon cards, 1 3-shield icon card. But very importantly here, we see the signature event Bond of Brotherhood right in the nick of time for our Tau player. This is until the end of the phase. Each Tau unit gets +2 hit points, and each Astra Militarum unit you have gets +2 attack. So that is just going to be absolutely crucial. It's going to make the Assault Valkyrie attack for 6. It's going to make the auxiliaries here here, 4 hit point units, and even Commander Starblaze is going to be a 2/7 unit. So Commander Starblaze need not necessarily retreat as like the first combat action. So let's see what exactly occurs. We've got combat here at the first planet, and let's see if we have any events. That Bond of Brotherhood is going to be just of the paramount importance to get out as quickly as possible. And what's very frightening here is that with all of these attack augmentation effects, we could definitely see Chaplain Mavros sneak out an assassination victory here on Commander Starblaze. But let's see what exactly happens. Looks as though Travis is in our chat log spelling out his dilemma. What I find very interesting about combat at this planet is Travis is going to have to make 2 difficult choices here. He can either retreat his Warlord right away, or he can risk attacking with the Ardent Auxiliaries and doing his area effect thing. But what's very curious is that if Mavros takes damage from any source, he can trigger that Vow of Honor, boost himself to 5 attack, then Mavros can further boost himself up to 7, and then that kind of swing will guaranteed kill Commander Starblaze, even if Bond of Brotherhood is played as a +2 HP boost. So we'd need an additional shield card in hand to see Starblaze survive. But looks as though Travis is taking a bit of a gamble here. And this is definitely something that could come back and cost him the game. But let's see if John ends up doing the mathematics right. So this is going to be the Ardent Auxiliaries targeting Aatrox Prime with Area Effect 2. That's going to be 2 points of damage to Chaplain Mavros, and that's going to be 2 points of damage. Let me remind our players there that Vow of Honor, Faith, and Hatred can only be used by an attack. So it looks as though we're seeing a copy of Promotion used as shields for the Reclusium Templars. And Chaplain Mavros is going to be assigned a full 2 damage. Alright, so just a moment there to clarify with both of our players. So the Reclusium Templars, their specialization is triggered, and then we also see that copy of Promotion discarded. But this is exactly what I was afraid of happening. Vow of Honor is going to boost Chaplain Mavros up to an attack value of 5, and Commander Starblaze only has 5 hit points. So will Mavros augment himself just to seal the deal here? Let's see what exactly occurs. But this is going to be an attack value of 5. Now we see Bond of Brotherhood played as an event, which means that all of these units are going to get +2 hit points. That brings Commander Starblaze up to a whopping 7 hit points. But it's all going to come down to, does John think? All right, it looks as though we see Mavros' ability activated once. And I can only imagine we're going to see it again, and that is going to be an attack of 7. But let's see it. Let's see John make that commitment to this play. So we've seen +1 attack thus far. No actions from Travis. We see the 2nd point of damage, and now it's all going to be up to Mavros here to take home the game. He's got a grand total of a 7 attack power for his 1 next attack, but let's see it. Both players indicate they are done with actions. Chaplain Mavros is going to end up killing Commander Starblaze, so a 2/7 bloodied unit is outright killed. Travis did not have any shield cards left in hand, so I think undoubtedly Travis could have sealed the deal had he even a single 1 shield icon card in hand. He could have ran away with Commander Starblaze. The auxiliaries could have eventually attacked. That Assault Valkyrie would have been attacking for 6, and even though Chaplain Mavros would have spent the rest of the round attacking for 4, we got that Faith and Hatred out of the way. The Templars' specialization was already out of the way, but absolutely spectacular play by both of our players. Congratulations to John Wesley for managing to pull this one right out at the very last possible moment, but nevertheless a very well played game by Travis. So thank you for watching, and as always, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe to my channel if you've not done so already, or if you are already subscribed, I always encourage you to share this content, as the more views, the more likes this content receives, the more subscriptions my channel incurs. All of it means more players are more likely to be exposed to this game, give it a try, end up liking Conquest, and all together we serve only to expand our community and keep sending the message to Fantasy Flight Games to continue to support this fantastic product. If at any point you'd feel so inclined to get in touch with me, I'd encourage you to do so through Facebook or on Twitter, and if you feel so inclined to help donate to support the Hive Tyrant's cause, I'd be honored were you to check out my Patreon. But once again, thank you so much for watching, and as always, be sure to check back in again soon for ever more Conquest LCG content to come.